I love Teriyaki Madness. So I always tell people if I were to do food, I would do Teriyaki Madness. One, because the financials are phenomenal, and then two, I love Asian food. But um, Teriyaki Madness, they go by T-Mad for short. They're one of the, I think, one of, if not the fastest growing food franchises in the industry. So they've been around since 2003. They started in Vegas, but they started growing pretty rapidly starting around 2012 and have been on a pretty steep incline since then. But essentially, what it is it's almost think of it like fast casual Asian food. It's almost a competitor to Panda Express. They say they have like higher quality food. It's all made fresh to order. So almost like a Chipotle. But a lot of their business is very streamlined. So I've been super impressed with like the systems they have in place. We've placed multiple people in this franchise. Um, the systems and support they have in place are phenomenal, and then everything is surrounded by the bottom line. So their food inventory is like they make sure that you don't have the least amount of food waste as possible, and they do that because they have a very simple menu. It's either noodles or rice based, and then you can add different proteins and sauces, but it's a very simple menu overall, and they don't try to do too much, which I love that. But the other thing I like about them, I'm kind of going out of order here, but the item 19 in the franchise disclosure document, they do show, I think it was like last time I looked, like 30 different locations broken down of a profit and loss statement, which I think is really cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it'll say like location A. It doesn't give you the actual specific city, but and then it'll go through all their cost of goods sold, their labor percentage, all the way down to EBITDA numbers, and it does it for 30 different locations. So
Wow.
it's pretty transparent in terms of their financials. So I like to see that. And then if you look at the summary table like we included here, the average AUV, the average performance is still pretty strong. So um, I love this business. I've heard they're really good with helping people like promote the business from a marketing standpoint, and they have like these pre-launch things where you'll get a bunch of people for opening day, and they'll have a line out the door, and it's a whole event and stuff like that. So um, the last thing I'd mention is they do say 80% of their revenue is derived outside of the four walls of the business. So what that means is smaller footprint, so smaller lease cost. And then most of their food is like their orders are takeout, delivery, Grubhub, and then or drive through. You don't have to have a drive through, but basically people are coming and taking it to go or ordering it to go. So you don't need a huge location, which keeps your costs lower. It can be in like a strip mall. And so, yeah, I like this business for food for sure. It is a lot of employees. I think they say around 20 to 25 part-time employees, are needed because you will be busy during different hours of the day. So yeah, I was kind of rambling there, but what are your initial thoughts, Tarek?
Yeah, it's solid. So funny story. And this is the first time that Kevin and I are connecting on this, but when when him and Krista put together their choices for the newsletter, I almost sent you guys a message to be like, "Come on, man, you guys know I don't want anything food related in there." And I was like, you know what? Let me be open minded. Let me be open minded. Let me take a look. So I started looking through the FDD and what you guys put, and I thought, okay, no, this I think it would be interesting to at least have the conversation again because it's like, if people have been successful in food before, right? So, and if it wasn't for me starting a food franchise, I wouldn't be here. The reality is, and when you do look at the numbers, I mean, it is pretty interesting. I'll tell you for these sort of businesses and for a retail based business, there's a criteria that I like to look at, which is a 2-to-1 sales to investment ratio. And so if you just average, right, their range 300 plus 730 divided by 2 is a little bit over 500K, right? It would be an average opening. And then you start seeing some of their average gross sales based off of a good amount of number of locations. This is when I was like, all right, cool. Like this looks kind of interesting. And they're close to that 2-to-1 sales to investment ratio. Now, to be fair, I want to be devil's advocate. So people don't think I'm just like a hype man. I saw some sort of comment about that on a different YouTube channel that kind of pissed me off a little bit. Man, I got some stuff to tell you, Kevin. um, Anyways, there are some criteria here, right, where they're leaving out some locations, but pretty much all franchisors do this, by the way. There's all something that they leave out, but this is just where doing your due you just anything you buy, no matter what, you got to do your due diligence and make sure you look at and talk to other franchisees. But here's where I was like, okay, I'm 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 willing to have a conversation around this. Is the more than 80% of sales done outside the four walls? I thought that was fascinating. And having owned a food business before, only one location that we had done some catering stuff for, man, catering is a huge opportunity. And it was just something where I never put the enough time and energy figuring out how we could do more catering business. But we'd have a catering order that would be the size of our sales for a day sometimes, or half the size of our sales for a day, which I thought was pretty interesting. So 80% of the sales coming from outside of the four walls is pretty fascinating to me overall. And yeah, that's my take on it. Anything else to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard really good things. I've heard the support is strong. I mean, we helped a guy who was a director of operations for a McDonald's owner. This guy owned like 10 McDonald's, and he was busting his ass, running these McDonald's for this owner. And he's like, I need to own my own businesses. And we placed him in this. He's crushing it. He bought 3 locations, started with 1, and has a development plan. But I mean,
Nice.
he has that experience. He looked at the numbers and then he's like, these numbers, are phenomenal. He kind of sold me on it. Um, Another person I'm helping now, the husband has a background in running kitchens. He's been a manager for a Panera location. So I think with the right background and ability to manage, like, that type of workforce, I think you can do really well if you get into the right food franchise. But a lot of them don't have the numbers. If you look at food franchise, they don't have the numbers that Teriyaki Madness, not even close.
No, yeah, it's true because what happens is what you see in a lot of the food franchises is like their average sales are like, and when I say food, it depends on, we're really talking QSR and you're talking like some popular pizza franchises or smoothie places and juice places. A lot of them, the average sales is 500-600 grand a
Mhm.
store. So, really, if someone is going to do food, you want to see average sales of 800K plus average unit volume AUV, because that's really where the margins can start to make sense. Because what happens is when you have a lease where you're paying 4, 5, 6 grand a month, you have that fixed cost whether you are doing 500 grand in sales or doing 800 grand in sales. So what happens is the more amount of sales you do, your margins proportionally increase significantly as you start to get towards the higher end of the range. So, and the fact that this could be operated within, what is it, a 12 to 1600 square foot spot is like, that's pretty solid overall. Like if this was okay, they do somewhere around a million, in AUV, but you're talking the average is 2,500 square feet. The numbers still aren't going to be that great because paying for 2,500 square feet is, you probably have a 10 grand a month, lease. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you put it in at least so we could have the conversation.
All right, good.
Sweet. All right. So guys, if you're interested in TMAT or just any other franchise, you want to see what's available in your specific zip code, geography area, you can click on the link in the description below, and be able to set up a quick call so that Kevin and the team can see what's in your area. Again, completely free.